Hello, I'm Hilda. I'm a certified movement trainer who works with clients on their movement rehabilitation. And welcome to my channel. Today's topic is about fixing the anterior pelvic tilt, or the APT in short. In the last video, we have talked about fixing the PPT, or posterior pelvic tilt. And the anterior pelvic tilt is the opposite of that, whereby the pelvis is tilted forward more than it should. As a result, you will find that your lordotic curve curves in a lot more, and there might be a slight compression in the lower back. Our spine consists of three main curves: the cervical curve, the kyphotic curve in our upper back, and the lordotic curve in our lower back. We need the three curves to be coexisting at the same time so that our spine is balanced. What happens in a situation of an anterior pelvic tilt is that the lordotic curve is too far in, causing not just the compression in the lower back, but the kyphotic curve to be less curled out, and our body weight goes forward. That means the spine is not stacked up in the way it should be, which is neutral. So people in that curvature of the spinal position will find themselves a little bit tipped forward and a little bit perhaps out of balance, usually using a lot of their muscles at the front, like the thighs muscles, the quadriceps, to do the work, to hold them from falling over. So what we want to do about it is to bring the anteriorly tilt pelvis back to its neutral position, decrease the compression in the lower back, restoring the lordotic curve here, bring the mid back, which is a kyphotic curve, back to stacking up on the lower back, and the upper back to stack up on the mid back. In other words, the upper back on the mid back, on the lower back, on the pelvis. Neutral spine, neutral pelvis. Come to an easy sitting position. As always, have your hands on your buttock to pull out the flesh. And as you do that, you will feel two bony bits here. That's your sit bones. Bring yourself to sitting on the sit bones. That's the beginning of it. When we are stacked up on the sit bones, that is where the pelvis will begin to have awareness on what its neutral position is. So sit this way. Now you might feel a little bit uncomfortable or different. To some clients that I've given the sitting position to, those with anterior pelvic tilt, they suddenly feel, wow, they've got so much space now in the lower back. That's because we are right here, optimized and balanced in our pelvic position, that our lower back, if it's too much in APT, will now feel the release, decreasing the compression. Now we're going to sit up here, and we're going to start to tilt the pelvis back and forth. From here, bring it to an extreme posterior tilt first. For those who watched my previous video on fixing the PPT, you will know that you need to bring this to the extreme, come back to the center, and now bring it to the other extreme of anterior pelvic tilt again. Curl into posterior tilt and arch into an anterior pelvic tilt again. And you curl and you arch and come back to center. The important thing to note while you're doing this is that your weight doesn't shift back and forth. While you are posteriorly tilting your pelvis here and anteriorly tilting your pelvis here, your weight is still at the center, just so that we don't compensate the movement with weight shifting. Just feel how your pelvis is when you're doing this a few more times here. Which do you feel is easier? If you are anteriorly tilted in your pelvis, chances are you will feel a lot easier on this. Therefore, I suggest you spend more time on the posterior pelvic tilt here. Because as we do that, we are opening the space in between each vertebra in our lumbar region, thereby giving it space. Okay, let's do 4 more here. Go 4 and 3 and 2 and 1. For most people with anteriorly tilted pelvis will find it very difficult to curl their lower back. But that is exactly what we're going to do, because we need to curl the lower back to give it space here so that we're able to bring the pelvis from a tilted position at the front to neutral. So let's try. This is also a very good core exercise, by the way. In my core exercise videos, you can also see I do a lot of demonstration on this. Welcome to check it out. Okay, now you're going to just do an easy curl back. Have your hands behind your thighs here, grabbing the back of your thighs while your legs try to push away. All you need to do is just curl back. You don't need to go very far. Just curl back up to here. That's it. Just stay. Take an inhalation, exhale to come up. The objective here is to create space in between each vertebra. Again, take an inhalation, exhale. Curl. Stay. Can you let go of your arms? Feel your belly scooped in. Just curl a little bit more. Curl and go down a little bit more. Just curl there. And slowly come back up. It's very common for people who, when they do this, after a certain point, they start to feel tightness take over. Then they start to straighten the back and hinge backward. We want to avoid that at all costs. Just think of yourself as a C shape, A, B, C, C, C shape. Think of your spine curling back like a C shape, C for curl. You're just going to stay there. Stay there. Scoop your belly in. The more you scoop your belly, the more your lower back has space. The more the pelvis, it will be brought back by coming to this posteriorly tilt position. And come back up. And one last time, take an inhalation, exhale and curl. Just stay there. Now, by now you'll be behind your sit bones. Just imagine your pelvis really tilting backwards here. An antidote to an anterior tilt and coming back up. We're going to do the famous cat-cow stretch, but we're not going to place emphasis on the spine this time. We're going to move a lot more from the pelvis. So have your hands on the chair, comfortable but not sinking into it, okay? Just enough to give you the support. Now, from an anteriorly tilted position of the pelvis, we're going to bring it to a posterior tilted position. Your spine will move as a result, but it's not the initiator here. We want to initiate the movement from the pelvis, which is here, just the back part. The pelvis, the lower back will be most obvious in following along the pelvic movement. Much like what you did on the mat just now, when we bring our pelvis to a posterior tilt, we are creating space in the lower back. Let's do 2 more here. And 1 more. Mobilizing the vertebra in your lower back here. And slowly bend your knees and come up. To summarize, for people with anteriorly tilted pelvis, we'll need more posterior tilted pelvic movements to help restore the pelvis to neutral. And for people with more posteriorly tilted pelvis, they need to work more anteriorly to restore the lordotic curve. I hope that makes sense because ultimately we want a balance. Neither too anterior nor too posterior. We want both ends, anterior, posterior, to work in a way that is well optimized for our spine, for our physical well-being. With that said, it's time to wrap up this video. Don't forget to subscribe, like my video, and leave me a comment in the section below. Thank you for your participation. Thank you for your viewership. Check out my other videos as well if you have not already. And I will see you in the next one. Have a great day.